You ever have one of those moments in class where a tiny idea just sparks something bigger? Like it grows into this amazing project or maybe even a new passion? Well, that's what we're talking about today. We're not just learning new words. We're going to use them to map out that entire journey, from that first little spark to the big success at the end. So, what does it actually take to turn a small idea into a huge success? I mean, that's the big question, right? It's the one we all ask ourselves when we're staring down a new project or a massive goal. And it turns out the whole thing kicks off with just a single moment, a tiny little spark. All right, so every great adventure has a starting point. And for a student like you, that point A is often right in the middle of class when curiosity just hits. Yeah, just picture it. You're sitting there, maybe zoning out a little, and then bam, the teacher says something that just clicks. It could be a new idea, a wild fact, or a question you've never even thought of before. That feeling, that's where it all begins. And that feeling, that little moment, it has a name. It's wonder. It's that voice in your head going, whoa, that's cool. I gotta know more about that. Wonder is pretty much the engine that gets this whole journey started. And you know, when you follow that feeling of wonder, it leads you right to the next step. You discover something. Maybe it's a new fact nobody in your class knew, or an interesting problem to solve, or just a totally different way of looking at the world. This discovery, it's like planting the first flag on your new path. Okay, and here's something really important to get. Every discovery is kind of like a coin. It has two sides. On one side, you've got an opportunity, a real chance to do something awesome. But then you flip it over and you find the challenge. That's the tricky part, the problem that's going to take some real effort to figure out. So, you've got your idea, your opportunity, and your challenge. Now what? Well, you can't just dive in head first. A brilliant idea needs a solid plan to actually become a reality. And this whole planning thing, it really boils down to 3 key steps. First up, you have to make the decision. You commit. You say, yep, I'm doing this. Then you figure out its value. You ask yourself, why does this matter to me? Why is it important? And finally, you figure out what you require. What stuff do I need? What information? Who can help me? See, the entire point of making a plan is to work your way toward a solution. That's your target. It's the answer you're trying to find, or the final thing you're trying to build. Having that clear solution in your sights keeps you from getting lost along the way. All right, idea? Check. Plan? Check. Now comes the part where the real magic happens. You know, the actual work. This is like the training montage in a movie. It takes effort. That's the real energy and hard work you pour into it, day in and day out. And what's the result of all that effort? You develop. Your skills get sharper, your project starts to take shape, you're literally becoming more advanced. And the goal of all this work is pretty simple, to improve. You're just trying to make something better than it was before. You take your first draft, your first prototype, and you make it better. Then you do it again. It's this constant cycle of making things better and better. So how do you even know if you're improving? Well, one of the biggest signs is when you start to reduce the bad stuff. To reduce something just means to make it smaller or less of it. So you reduce the number of mistakes in your paper, you reduce the bugs in your code, you make things simpler, cleaner, and way more effective. Okay, so far, we've kind of been talking about this like it's a solo mission. But let's be real, some of the most important projects you'll ever do in school, you don't do them alone. You do them with a team. I mean, think about it. Group projects, science fairs, sports teams, even just study groups. Success in those things isn't just about how hard you work. It's all about how well you can work together. And you know, great teamwork really comes down to a few key things. You've got to include everybody's ideas. You have to support your teammates when they're struggling. You need to respond to feedback without getting defensive. Being responsible for your own part is huge, and you all have to protect the quality of the work you're doing together. Let's zoom in on that word, support. This is so much more than just being nice to people. It means you're actively helping them out, offering assistance, and making sure nobody on the team falls behind. A team that supports each other, that's a team that's going to win. And then there's being responsible. This one's simple, but it's everything. It means you take ownership of your part of the project. Your team is counting on you, so you have a duty to get your stuff done. That trust is basically the glue that holds the whole team together. And now, after all that planning, all the hard work, all the teamwork, we finally get to the destination. This is the moment you've been grinding for, seeing the results of your journey. This is it. This is the moment you achieve your goal. You turn in the project, you solve the problem, you cross the finish line. It's that feeling of successfully completing the very same challenge you took on way back at the start. And just look at this. Beyond just finishing, one of the clearest results is how much your knowledge and skills increase. To increase means to get bigger or greater. I mean, look at the chart. You started here with what you knew before, but through this whole process, you grew, and now you're way up here. You're so much more capable than when you started. And this brings us to what might be the most important part of all, the real benefit of this whole journey. It's not just the good grade or the finished project, it's all the other good stuff you get along the way. The new skills, the confidence, the experience, that's the real prize. I really love this idea. It perfectly wraps up everything we've been talking about. The greatest benefit of your journey isn't just what you achieve, but who you become. The challenge changes you. The effort makes you grow. The achievement makes you stronger. It's all about the person you are at the end of it all. So there you have it. We've mapped out the entire path, from that first little spark of wonder all the way to a big achievement. You've got the words now, you can describe every single step. So the only real question left is, what journey are you going to start next?